Silence doesn't mean they forgot you. Sometimes it just means they're too afraid to face what losing you really says about them. If they can go months without reaching out, my friends, that is not a mystery. That is a message. In this video, we're going to decode what that silence is actually saying, and I promise you, it's not saying you weren't enough. Before we dive deep into this, do me a quick favor. If you've ever been left on read for weeks, months, or what feels like several human lifetimes, press that like button and make sure you subscribe. It helps more than you know, and it tells the algorithm, hey, this person is done suffering in silence. Now, hey folks, imagine this. You're standing at an airport with your bags packed. You've checked the time 100 times. The screen says delayed, but never cancelled. You keep waiting because no one officially told you the flight is not coming. That's what it feels like when someone goes months without reaching out. You're parked at an emotional gate, watching your life delay itself because no one had the courage to say, this isn't taking off. Or picture this. You're a book they pulled off the shelf, read halfway, loved some chapters, dog-eared a few pages, then closed and left on the table. They didn't burn it, they didn't throw it away, they just never picked it back up. You sit there wondering, was I boring? Was I not good enough? When the truth is, some people just don't have the discipline to finish what they start. We've been sold a lot of lies about silence. If they're quiet, they're just confused. If they don't reach out, they're probably working on themselves. If months go by, maybe they're scared of how much they care. Sounds deep, right? Also sounds like a good way to keep you stuck. Here's the hard truth. People make time for what they truly value. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Today, we're flipping that. You do not have power over their silence, but you do have power over what you decide that silence means. A lot of you are treating their silence like a cliffhanger in a Netflix series. Next episode coming soon. My friends, the season ended 3 months ago. There is no next episode unless they decide to write it. And if they don't, you are not meant to sit in the dark, staring at the loading screen of someone else's inconsistency. And I know it's easy to start doing FBI-level investigations. You check their stories, their likes, their new followers, zoom into every shadow in their selfies like, is that a new person's shoulder? Little bit of fun here, but you know I'm right. We joke about it, but underneath, it hurts. It makes you question your worth, your memory, your reality. Stoicism isn't about pretending you don't care. It's about refusing to let someone else's lack of effort decide your value. When they go months without reaching out, they are saying something. Sometimes it's, I'm selfish. Sometimes it's, I'm immature. Sometimes it's, I don't have the courage to face you. But it is never, you are worthless. What we're going to do in this video is simple but powerful. We're going to stop romanticizing their silence. We're going to stop worshipping their absence like it's some deep spiritual test. We're going to see it for what it is: information, data, evidence. And then we're going to use that evidence to choose you. So stay with me, because by the end of this, my friends, you won't be begging for a text. You'll be grateful for the clarity. You'll stop asking, why aren't they messaging me? And start saying, why was I waiting for someone who could vanish for months in the first place? If you're ready to step out of that emotional waiting room, I want you to write this in the comments right now. I choose my peace. Type it out, claim it, press the like button, hit subscribe, and stay with me, because this is where confusion ends and your power begins. Number 1. When months go by, that is the message. Someone who can live for months without your voice is not confused about you. They're comfortable without you. That stings a little, doesn't it? Because deep down, You've probably been holding on to the idea that their silence is complicated, mysterious, maybe even romantic. My friends, most of the time, it's not. Most of the time, when months go by and they don't reach out, that silence isn't a pause button. It's an answer. Think of it like this. Imagine you're standing in the middle of a road, holding a bright red umbrella in the rain. You're visible. You're there. Anyone driving past can clearly see you. If someone drives by, looks straight at you, and keeps going, you don't say, "Maybe they didn't see me." You say, "They saw me and chose not to stop." That's what's really happening when someone knows exactly where you are, knows exactly how to reach you, and still decides month after month to do nothing. You are not invisible. You are just not their priority. And that's a hard truth, but it's also a freeing one. But your mind doesn't accept that right away. It starts negotiating. Maybe they're going through something. Maybe they lost my number. Maybe they're trying to respect my space. You start building an entire fantasy courtroom in your head where they're secretly innocent and life is the guilty one. Why do you do that? Because the truth hurts your ego. Accepting that someone could go that long without you feels like a direct punch to your worth, so your brain starts protecting you with stories. You'd rather believe they're tragically conflicted than emotionally lazy. You might find yourself lying awake at night asking, what if they're just scared? Or what if they don't know how to start the conversation? You replay the last text, the last call, the last look they gave you. You dissect every emoji like it's a sacred text. Fear starts whispering, what if I move on and they come back the moment I finally let go? That fear keeps you stuck in emotional limbo, parked in a waiting room for someone who hasn't even taken a ticket. Here's where we break a big lie. No one is too busy for months to send a single, honest message. People text while half asleep, on the toilet, in traffic they shouldn't be texting in. They reply to memes, fire emojis on strangers' photos, and random group chats they don't even care about. So when your mind says, maybe they're just really busy, you need to answer back with truth. They're not too busy to live. They're just not choosing to live with me in it. That's not meant to crush you, it's meant to wake you up. Seneca said, life is long if you know how to use it. Their silence is them choosing how to use their life. And unfortunately, right now, they're choosing it without you. That doesn't mean you're not valuable. It means they are either too immature, too proud, too distracted, or too self-centered to show up for the kind of connection you offer. Folks, that is information. That is data. That is a clear message, even if it arrives wrapped in quiet. Why is it so difficult to accept this? Because accepting it means you have to let go of the version of them you built in your mind. The version who will definitely come back when they're ready. The version who deeply cares but doesn't know how to express it. Sometimes that version does exist, but let's be honest, if they truly cared enough, would you really be sitting here counting months of silence? We cling to potential because it hurts less than reality. We fall in love with who they could be and ignore who they are currently choosing to be. You might think, but we had such strong chemistry, we had such deep conversations, they told me I meant so much. And those things might have been real in the moment. But chemistry without consistency is just emotional fireworks, loud, bright, and gone in seconds. Deep conversations don't mean much if they're not followed by deep commitment. Words and vibes are easy. Showing up when it's uncomfortable, that's where truth lives. Think of their silence like a mirror, not a mystery. It's reflecting something about them, not about your worth. A person who can let months pass and not ask, hey, how are you really doing, is telling you, I am not ready or willing to hold space for your heart. You may be trying to read it as they're scared or they're confused. But from a Stoic point of view, you have to learn to read actions as they are, not as you wish they were. Emotional adults don't leave people hanging indefinitely. They might say, "I need space," or "I can't continue this," or "I don't know what I want, and it's not fair to keep you waiting." Silence is not honesty. Silence is avoidance. It's also important to admit the fear underneath all this. You might be scared that if you accept their silence as final, you'll have to start over. You'll have to face yourself again without the maybe one-day fantasy keeping you company. That's terrifying because it means confronting your own loneliness, your own unmet needs, your own patterns. It's easier to keep waiting by the phone than to sit down and ask, why am I okay being an option? Why am I okay giving months of my emotional life to someone who hasn't given me clarity? But that's where your power starts, in the questions that hurt but heal. The truth is, when months go by and they don't reach out, what they're really saying is, I'm okay with you living in uncertainty while I live in comfort. That may not be what they'd admit out loud, but it's what their behavior reflects. Stoicism teaches you to stop chasing what people say and start believing what they show. As Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, if it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. If someone is not reaching out, they are choosing not to act. That action is their truth, whether they dress it up later with excuses or not. Here's the shift I want you to make. Instead of asking, why aren't they messaging me? Start asking, what does their silence allow me to see? It allows you to see their level of effort. It allows you to see their emotional maturity. It allows you to see your own tendency to overgive and under-accept. It allows you to see who you've been bending yourself for. It might even allow you to see that you were the only one trying to keep the connection alive. And yes, that realization hurts. But it also frees you. Because once you see clearly, you stop waiting. You stop shrinking yourself just to fit into someone's stray thoughts. Folks, you deserve someone who doesn't disappear for seasons and then expect you to still be standing in the same place. You deserve someone whose effort doesn't need excuses, whose presence doesn't need decoding. Their months of silence are not the end of your story, they're the beginning of your clarity. When months go by and they don't reach out, that is the message. The question now is, what are you going to do with it? Stay stuck reading the same line over and over, or finally turn the page? If this hit your heart, I want you to claim your power in the comments. Write this: I won't wait in silence. Show yourself, show your future self, show the world around you that you are done mistaking their silence for a sign to keep holding on. And stay with me, because next we're going to dig even deeper into what they're truly choosing when they avoid you, and what you can choose instead. Number 2. They chose comfort over clarity. People don't avoid you because they don't know what to say. They avoid you because saying the truth would cost them their comfort. My friends, this is where it gets uncomfortable, but also where it gets honest. When someone goes months without reaching out, most of the time it's not because they're lost in some deep emotional maze trying to find the perfect words. It's because staying silent feels easier to them than telling you the truth. They are not protecting your heart, they're protecting their comfort. Picture this for a second. Imagine they're holding a heavy box labeled truth. Inside that box is everything. I'm not ready, I'm selfish, I liked the attention but not the responsibility, I don't want to change. Carrying that box to your door and handing it to you would take effort, courage, and humility. Instead, they quietly put the box down in the corner of their life and walk away. No explanation, no message, just distance. And you're left staring at the empty space, trying to guess what was inside. We like to imagine that silence is noble, that they're being quiet because they don't want to hurt us. But let's be real, Confusion hurts more than clarity. Being left without answers drags out the pain far longer than a single honest conversation would. When someone chooses silence, they're not protecting you from pain. They're protecting themselves from discomfort, from awkwardness, from guilt, from any feeling that would force them to face their own reflection. You might catch yourself saying things like, maybe they're healing, or maybe they're just trying to figure themselves out, or maybe they're scared of how much they care. And sure, that sounds poetic. It also sounds like a comfortable story you tell yourself so you don't have to accept the harder truth, that they are okay with you living in questions. Think about that. Someone who cares about your heart doesn't sleep peacefully knowing you're lying awake, wondering what went wrong. Seneca said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." Their silence is one choice. The rest is your imagination running wild, filling in all the blanks. You suffer more from the story you're telling yourself about their silence than from their actual decision. The reality might be simple. Reaching out would be uncomfortable, so they don't. Saying, "I can't give you what you want," would be uncomfortable, so they don't. Admitting, "I liked your love, but I don't want to grow to keep it," would be uncomfortable, so they don't. Comfort over clarity, every time. Think of it like a group chat they silently left. They didn't say, "Hey, I'm leaving. I just don't feel aligned anymore." They just stopped replying. You keep talking, sending messages, dropping your feelings in there. They might still read it. They might still check in now and then, but they never respond. Does that mean the chat is alive, or just that you're the only one still typing? A lot of you are in emotional group chats where the other person left months ago and never told you. And here's the twisted part. Some people actually like that. Not because they're pure evil, but because having you sort of there without committing to you gives them the best of both worlds. They don't have to show up, but they still live rent-free in your mind. Their comfort is fully paid for by your confusion. They get to walk around feeling big and important, knowing there's someone out there still replaying old memories, still wondering what they did wrong, still waiting. That's not love. That's emotional selfishness. Why do they think like this? Because many people grow up with the idea that avoiding conflict is better than telling the truth. They were never taught how to say, "I'm not ready," or "I don't want this," without feeling like the villain. So instead, they disappear. They mislabel avoidance as kindness. If I say nothing, I'm not hurting them. But the truth is, silence can be the deepest cut. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "What stands in the way becomes the way." The discomfort they refuse to face becomes the obstacle that defines everything. From a Stoic lens, you don't need to hate them for this, but you do need to see it clearly. When someone chooses months of silence, they are choosing their comfort over your clarity. That is the equation. You can't control their choice, but you can control what you decide to do with that information. You can keep defending them in your mind, building excuses for them, or you can say, "If you won't even give me the respect of clarity, you do not deserve the access to my heart." Yes, it's difficult. Letting go of the story that they're just confused means letting go of the fantasy reunion you've quietly been holding. It means facing the empty stage and accepting that the main character you were waiting for isn't coming back out for an encore. That hurts. But staying in the audience forever, waiting for a show that's over, hurts more. You deserve something simple and solid, someone who chooses clarity over comfort, someone who can say, "I'm in" or "I'm out," instead of vanishing and hoping time will do the explaining for them. Because here's the truth, folks. Time doesn't explain, it just exposes. The longer they stay silent, the clearer their priorities become. So instead of asking, "Why aren't they reaching out?" begin asking, "Why am I okay with being left without answers?" Instead of thinking, maybe I scared them with my honesty. Think, maybe they weren't ready for someone who actually knows what they want. That shift moves you from begging for clarity to claiming it for yourself. If this spoke to you, if some part of you felt called out but also relieved, I want you to own that. Go to the comments and write, I choose clarity. Show yourself, show your future self, show the world around you that you are done accepting silence as a love language. And stay with me, because next we're going to look at the real villain in this story. Not you, not even them, but their ego, and how it would rather lose you than lose control. Number 3, their ego would rather lose you than lose control. Some people would rather lose a good person than admit they were wrong. That's not strength, that's ego in a costume. My friends, this is where we pull back the curtain, because a lot of the time, it's not that they don't miss you, it's that their ego hates what reaching out would mean. It would mean admitting they mishandled you. It would mean saying, I care, after acting like they didn't. It would mean risking rejection. And for some people, all of that feels worse than actually losing you. Picture their ego like a small, bossy manager inside their head. This manager doesn't care about love, connection, or healing. It only cares about one thing. We must never look weak. So when their heart whispers, I miss them, that ego manager shouts back, nope, sit down. We don't text first. We don't apologize. We don't admit we messed up. Their heart walks to the door, and ego double locks it from the inside. You don't see this wrestling match. All you see is silence. But behind that silence, there's a war between what they feel and what their ego allows them to show. You might lie in bed thinking, if they miss me, why don't they just say it? If they regret losing me, why can't they just pick up the phone? It's simple to you because you value truth more than image. But not everyone lives like that. Some people would rather stay emotionally half dead than take a risk that might bruise their pride. They'd rather invent a story where you're the one who was too much or too dramatic than confess they simply weren't able to step up. Here's a hard lie we have to break. We're taught that the one who doesn't reach out is the one with the power. The one who stays silent must be the one in control. But real control is not the ability to ignore someone. Real control is the ability to be honest, to be vulnerable, to act in alignment with what you feel instead of hiding behind fear. Stoicism is not about being emotionally dead, it's about being emotionally disciplined. There's a big difference. Think about this metaphor. Imagine their ego as a glass mask they wear around you. It looks strong, polished, confident, but it's fragile. Every honest word, every apology, every I miss you is like a small stone that could crack that mask. So instead of risk it, they stay far away. You think they're unbothered, but really, they're just protecting the mask. Because once that mask breaks, they have to see themselves as they are, flawed, scared, imperfect. And some people are more afraid of that truth than of losing you forever. Marcus Aurelius said, if anyone can refute me, show me I'm making a mistake or looking at things from the wrong perspective, I'll gladly change. I seek the truth. Most people today don't live like that. They don't say, show me where I went wrong. They say, I'd rather ghost you than admit I hurt you. That's not truth-seeking. That's ego worship. And you cannot build a peaceful life around someone who bows down to their pride more than they care about your heart. You might still be thinking, but they told me they cared. They said I was different. They said they've never met anyone like me. I believe they meant those things when they said them. But the true test of those words was never going to be in the good times. It was always going to be in the moments where their ego had to step aside, when it was time to apologize, when it was time to say, I handled that badly, when it was time to reach out after months of silence. That's where you see who runs their life, their heart or their ego. And here's the part that hurts, but also heals. Their ego didn't just cost them you, it cost them their own growth. When someone avoids accountability, they stay emotionally stuck. They repeat the same patterns with new people, new faces, new names. They never learn. You were a chance for them to grow, a chance to practice humility, to practice honesty, to practice real love. And their ego said, "No thanks, we'd rather stay comfortable." It's easy to take that personally, to think, if I had been better, they would have chosen differently. But that's not how ego works. Their ego isn't triggered by your flaws. It's triggered by your impact. The more deeply you made them feel, the more their ego panics. Because feeling deeply means they have something to lose. And when people are ruled by ego, they would rather pretend nothing matters than admit something does. From a Stoic point of view, this is where your power starts. You stop begging for them to choose you over their ego. You stop thinking, if they realized what they lost, they'd come back. The truth is, they might realize it. One day, in a quiet moment, in an empty room, it may hit them what you truly were. But by then, you may have already outgrown the version of yourself that would ever accept this again. Your job is not to wait for their ego to soften. Your job is to strengthen your own self-respect. Ask yourself this: do you really want to be with someone who has to lose you to wake up? Do you really want a love that needs shock therapy to realize your value? Or do you want someone whose ego is mature enough to say, "I'm scared, I'm flawed, but I'm willing to show up anyway"? That's the difference between childish pride and emotional adulthood. The fear you carry is understandable. What if I let go and they finally decide to reach out later? What if they change, but I'm not there to see it? My friends, if someone truly evolves, that growth will benefit them, whether you're in their life or not. You are not obligated to stay stuck just in case they someday become who they should have been from the start. Your evolution cannot be put on hold for their ego's timeline. So here's the shift. Instead of obsessing over why their ego chose control over you, start choosing control over your own narrative. You can't stop their pride from running their life, but you can stop it from running yours. You are allowed to say, if your ego needs me to be silent, small, and waiting, then I'm not your person. I belong to a life where love and honesty are braver than pride. If this spoke to you, if something in your chest felt both called out and comforted, I want you to claim your side in this story. Go to the comments and write, "I choose self-respect." Show yourself, show your future self, show the world around you that you refuse to compete with someone's ego for the right to be treated well. And stay with me, because next we're going to flip the script completely and talk about what their silence secretly admits about you and why it says far more about your strength than their absence ever could. Number 4. What their silence secretly admits about you. The fact that they're scared to face you says more about your power than their silence ever will. We usually read silence as rejection. They don't talk to me, so I must not matter. They can go months without reaching out, so I must be forgettable. But my friends, what if that silence is actually a confession? Not spoken, not admitted, but felt. What if their absence doesn't say, "You weren't enough," but instead quietly admits, "You were more than I knew how to handle"? Think about it like this. Imagine you walk into a room with 2 mirrors. One is soft, blurred, touched up with filters. You look into it and think, "Hey, I look pretty good." The other mirror is brutally honest. It shows everything: the lines, the tiredness in your eyes, the parts you've been avoiding. Most people will choose the filtered mirror, not because the other one is lying, but because it's telling the truth too clearly. You, my friend, were that honest mirror in their life. Your presence made them see things they weren't ready to face about themselves. Their silence is not them saying, "You're nothing." It's them quietly saying, "I can't look at myself when I'm around you." You might hear that and argue with it in your head. But if I was so important, why didn't they stay? If I was so powerful, why didn't they choose me? Fair questions. And here's the hard thing to swallow. Just because you're valuable doesn't mean everyone is ready for what you bring. A diamond doesn't become less valuable because someone decides it's too expensive. It just means that person can't afford it. In the same way, your emotional depth, your honesty, your capacity to really care, that doesn't become less precious because someone walked away. It just means they didn't have the tools to hold it. Folks, some of you were the first person who ever truly saw them. You noticed their patterns. You called out the inconsistencies. You didn't just enjoy the good moments, you also gently, or maybe not so gently, challenged the messy ones. That's uncomfortable. Most people are used to relationships where they can hide, perform, or control the story. With you, their usual tricks didn't work as well. You noticed what they tried to bury. That's not easy to stand in front of. It's easier to go quiet than to stand there feeling exposed. Marcus Aurelius said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." Your presence brought color into their gray. It made them feel more, think more, question more. But feeling more also meant more responsibility, more vulnerability, more honesty. For someone who's used to running from themselves, that's terrifying. So what do? They step back. They go silent. They vanish into, "I'm just busy, and life got crazy, and I've been going through things" territory. But underneath all that, part of them knows. You were different. You were safe. You were the calm they didn't know what to do with. Here's a fun but painful metaphor. You were like a software update they kept postponing. "Remind me later." Not now. Maybe tomorrow. Because they knew that if they pressed install, things would have to change. Old bugs would be exposed, new habits would be required, some apps, behaviors wouldn't work the same. A better system waiting on the other side, but also discomfort in getting there. So instead, they just kept hitting "remind me later" until the phone started glitching. Guess what? That glitch wasn't you. That glitch was their refusal to update. You might be sitting there thinking, maybe I should have made it easier for them. Maybe I shouldn't have expected so much. Maybe my standards were too high. My friends, that's fear talking. That's the scared part of you trying to bargain away your self-respect just to make sense of their behavior. Your standards didn't push them away. Their lack of readiness made them retreat. There is a difference. Lowering your standards doesn't keep people like this. It just keeps you down at a level you've already outgrown. And here's another truth their silence quietly admits. They know what they did. They know how they left things. They know what that last conversation felt like. They know what you gave. They know how much of yourself you offered. Silence is not amnesia, it's avoidance. It's them saying, "I remember, and I don't want to be reminded, because then I'd have to face how badly I handled someone who actually cared." That isn't about your value, that's about their guilt. From a Stoic lens, your job is to stop reading their silence as a verdict on your worth and start reading it as a report on their capacity. You brought emotional depth, loyalty, consistency, the kind of presence that could have been a home for them. And they treated it like a hotel, temporary, convenient, there when needed. Their silence now is them living with the truth that they checked out of something real. That's on them. Why do they think like this? Because accountability is heavy. Saying, "I hurt someone good," is heavy. Admitting, "I lost something I might not find again," is heavy. It's much easier to bury it under "it just didn't work out," or "life got in the way," Their ego writes the script to protect the story they tell themselves at night. But deep down, when it's quiet, some part of them knows, and that quiet knowing is the part of them that will remember you long after their pride stops talking. Let this sink in. Their silence secretly admits that your presence had weight. You were not background noise. You were not just another number in their phone. You were a turning point they chose not to turn at. That's not your failure. That's their unfinished lesson. So instead of asking, "What was wrong with me?" try asking, "What did my presence reveal that they weren't ready to face?" Maybe you revealed their emotional immaturity. Maybe you revealed their fear of commitment. Maybe you revealed that they don't actually know how to handle healthy love. And maybe, just maybe, the very thing they couldn't handle is the exact thing that will heal someone else one day. The depth, the honesty, the way you love. If this resonated with you, if you felt even a small wave of relief knowing that their silence might be saying more about your strength than your lack, I want you to claim it publicly. Go to the comments and write, "I am not replaceable." Show yourself. Show your future self. Show the world around you that you refuse to let someone's avoidance define your value. And stay with me, because next we're going to talk about the trap you fall into when you ignore all this evidence and keep waiting for someone who has already spoken through their silence. Number 5. The trap of waiting for someone who's already answered. The longest heartbreak isn't when they leave. It's when you keep waiting after their silence has already told you everything. My friends, this is where so many good, kind, loyal people get stuck. Not in the moment they were left, but in the months and years after, sitting in an invisible waiting room for someone who has already spoken through their actions. You don't realize it at first. It doesn't feel like waiting. It feels like giving them time, letting things cool off, seeing what happens. But slowly, silently, your life starts orbiting around a possibility that only exists in your head. Picture this. You're in a train station. The last announcement for your train has already played, and the train quietly pulled away an hour ago. The platform is empty, the lights are dimming, but you're still sitting on the same bench, checking the clock, telling yourself maybe it's just delayed. You see other trains arrive, opportunities, new people, new paths. But you don't move because you're convinced the one that left is somehow coming back to this exact platform, at this exact time, in this exact way. That's what waiting for someone's message can feel like. The world keeps moving. You stay seated. Your mind gets very creative when it's scared of letting go. You start playing mental chess with reality. If they didn't care, why did they say all those things? If it was really over, why do I feel this connection so strongly? If I move on now, what if they come back the very moment I finally stop thinking about them? Fear loves that last question. It uses it like a leash. Every time you start to walk forward, it yanks you back with, "But what if they return when you're gone?" Here's the truth you don't want to look at. You are sacrificing your present to protect a future that doesn't even exist yet. You check your phone first thing in the morning and last thing at night. You read into every small sign. A dream, a song, an old memory that suddenly pops up. You turn them into omens instead of what they are, echoes. Echoes of something that already happened, not proof of something that's about to happen. Marcus Aurelius said, "Do not waste the remainder of your life in thoughts about others when you do not refer your thoughts to some object of common utility." In simple words, stop wasting your life overthinking someone's behavior when it's not helping you live better. Their silence is data. It's not a puzzle you're meant to solve forever. Yet the trap is this. You keep giving their silence meaning that keeps you emotionally occupied. You turn their inaction into your full-time emotional job. You tell your friends, "I know it's been months, but they were just so different." I feel like they'll eventually realize we had something real, and maybe you did. Maybe there were real moments, real connection, real sparks. But reality isn't built on sparks, it's built on action. A person can make you feel everything and still do nothing. And that contrast between what you felt and what they're doing now is exactly what keeps you hooked. You think, there's no way they don't feel this too, so you wait, hoping one day their actions will finally match the intensity you carry inside. The trap deepens when you start designing your decisions around them without saying it out loud. You don't fully open up to new people just in case. You hesitate to move, to travel, to change your life too much, because what if they come back and I'm not here? You create an invisible border around your life that says, I can't go too far because they might return and need to find me exactly where they left me. That's not romance. That's emotional captivity. From a Stoic angle, we have to be honest. You are negotiating with reality. Reality already sent its message. Months of no effort, months of no call, months of no, hey, can we talk? You don't want that message, so you keep looking for a hidden one behind it. But someone who wants you will not hide the message in codes and symbols and spiritual signals. They will act, they will speak, they will reach. Why is it so hard to stop waiting? Because if you stop, it feels like you're admitting it's really over. And if it's really over, you have to grieve. You have to feel the loss, the disappointment, the anger, the sadness. Waiting lets you postpone that grief. As long as you're waiting, you don't have to fully accept that it's done. But that's the cruel trick. The grief doesn't disappear. It just gets stretched out over time, thin and constant, like a low, dull ache. Stoicism doesn't want you to live like that. It wants you to face the pain so you can move through it, not build a house inside it. Another layer of the trap is ego. Part of you thinks they'll realize one day, they'll regret this, they'll see what they lost. And maybe they will, but it's not your job to sit in emotional suspension just to be present for their epiphany. Their potential regret is not your responsibility. It is not your finish line. You deserve a life that moves, that breathes, that grows, with or without their realization. So here's the reframe. You're not waiting for them. You're delaying yourself. Waiting keeps you in a loop. Hope, overthinking, disappointment, repeat. Choosing to step out of that loop doesn't mean you never cared. It means you care about yourself enough to stop putting your life on hold for someone who has already made their choice clear. Ask yourself honestly, if I believed 100% that they were never coming back, what would I start doing differently today? Would you sign up for that class? Take that trip. Talk to someone new with an open heart. Get serious about your own healing and growth instead of staring at your notifications. The answers to those questions show you exactly how much of your power you've handed over to their silence. My friends, the trap of waiting for someone who's already spoken isn't about them anymore. It's about you. It's about whether you believe your life is worth moving forward even if someone else chose to stay still. It's about whether you trust that peace is possible without the closure you thought you needed. It's about whether you're willing to say, your silence was your decision. My movement is mine. If this hit you in a place you've been avoiding, I want you to declare your exit from this trap. Go to the comments and write, I won't pause my life. Show yourself, show your future self, show the world around you that you are choosing movement over emotional limbo. And stay with me, because next we're going to talk about something powerful. How to turn their absence into a mirror for your growth, instead of a cage that keeps you small. Number 6, turning their absence into a mirror, not a cage. When someone leaves you in silence, you can either build a prison out of it or a mirror. One keeps you stuck, the other sets you free. My friends, this is where everything starts to shift. Up until now, their silence has probably felt like a punishment, like a locked door you keep knocking on, like a verdict that says, you weren't good enough to stay for. But what if, instead of letting their absence become a cage, you turned it into a mirror? Not a mirror that shows you how unworthy you are, but one that reveals how powerful you actually are, and how much you've been shrinking yourself just to be chosen. Imagine you walk into a room and there are two things in front of you. On one side, there's a small, dark cage. It's cramped, but it's familiar. You know every bar by heart because you've clung to them so often. On the other side, there's a full-length mirror with a bright light above it. The cage whispers, "Stay here and wait. One day, they'll come back and open the door." The mirror whispers, "Stand here and look honestly at who you are and who you became while waiting for someone who never came." Most people choose the cage not because they love it, but because the mirror is scary. Seeing yourself clearly means accepting how long you've stayed somewhere that didn't honor you. When someone goes months without reaching out, your first instinct is to ask, "What's wrong with me?" That's the cage talking. It makes everything about you, your flaws, your mistakes, your past. It tells you that their silence is proof that you're unlovable, forgettable, easily replaced. But from a Stoic point of view, that's not truth. That's your fear writing the script. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Their silence is an outside event. The way you interpret it, that's where your power lives. Turning their absence into a mirror means asking different questions, not, "Why didn't they want me?" but, "Why did I want them so badly that I ignored the signs?" Not, "Why didn't they stay?" but, "Why did I keep giving my heart to someone who kept me guessing?" Not, "What was wrong with me?" but, "What inside me made this kind of behavior feel familiar or even normal?" These questions hurt at first. They poke bruises you've avoided touching, but they also heal because they bring the focus back to the one thing you can actually transform: yourself. Think of their silence like the empty outlines in a coloring book. You've been trying to color in their side of the picture, their reasons, their emotions, their excuses. But you don't have their crayons, you don't have their truth. All you have are guesses. When you use their absence as a mirror, you stop trying to color their page and start filling in your own. You ask, "What did I learn from this? Where did I abandon my own boundaries? What will I no longer ignore in future relationships?" Suddenly, the picture becomes about your growth, not their lack of effort. It's easy to fall into the story that you wasted time on them, that all those months, maybe years, are just gone. But the moment you turn that experience into a mirror, time stops being wasted and starts being invested. You start seeing patterns. Maybe you realize you've always been the one who over-explains, over-apologizes, over-gives. Maybe you see that you tend to choose people who are emotionally unavailable because it keeps you from having to risk fully showing yourself. Those are not comfortable realizations, but they are gold. They are the map out of the cage. Ask yourself honestly, if they had never gone silent, would you have ever looked this deeply at yourself? Or would you have kept patching things up, telling yourself, "It's not that bad, I've handled worse, at least they come back sometimes"? Sometimes the worst thing someone does to you becomes the thing that shows you exactly where you've been doing it to yourself. Their silence might be the first time life forced you to sit alone with your own reflection and ask, "What do I truly deserve?" Another metaphor for you. Think of their absence like a fire that burned through a forest. At first, all you see is destruction, charred ground, empty branches, quiet where there used to be noise. But if you look closer, slowly, small green shoots start to appear. new life in places that were once overcrowded with old growth. Their silence cleared a space. It hurt, it burned, it felt unfair, but in that cleared space, you finally have room to plant something better, stronger boundaries, higher standards, a deeper relationship with yourself. The cage version of you keeps saying, "When they come back, I'll feel whole again." The mirror version of you says, "I am learning how to feel whole without waiting for them." One is dependent, the other is free. One keeps your peace in someone else's hands. The other says, "My peace belongs to me, and I won't lease it out to anyone ever again." Stoicism doesn't tell you not to feel hurt. It tells you not to hand the keys of your life to those who hurt you. You might still hear a voice inside that says, "But if I stop focusing on them, doesn't that mean what we had never mattered?" No, it means what you had is now complete. You took the lesson, you felt the feelings, you honored the story, and now you're choosing to honor yourself more than the story. You're allowed to say, "That connection was real, and so is my need to move on." Both can be true. Turning their absence into a mirror also means seeing the parts of you that survived. The part that still shows up for work. The part that still loves your friends. The part that still laughs at dumb memes, still cares about music, still wants to grow. Those parts of you are not small. They're proof that your heart is bigger than this one chapter. Their silence didn't destroy you. It just exposed where you were still convinced you needed someone else to complete you. So here's the shift I want you to make. Instead of staring at the empty space where they used to be, stand in front of the bigger space. Your life. Ask, who am I becoming because of this? What would a stronger, calmer, wiser version of me do now? Let their absence be the mirror that reflects the version of you who refuses to chase, beg, or shrink. That is the version that's being born in this quiet. If you felt something move in you while hearing this, I want you to claim that transformation out loud. Go to the comments and write, "I choose to grow." Show yourself. Show your future self. Show the world around you that you are done turning silence into a prison and ready to use it as a mirror. And stay with me, because next we're going to talk about how a truly stoic response looks when you stop negotiating with mixed signals and start protecting your energy like it actually matters, because it does. Number 7, their return, your rebirth. Sometimes they don't come back because they miss you. They come back because they realize they can't find the version of themselves they liked, without you there to hold it up. My friends, this is the part nobody prepares you for. We talk a lot about them leaving, about the silence, about the months of nothing. But what about when that silence suddenly cracks? When your phone lights up with the name you trained your heart to stop looking for? After all this time, after all the nights you wrestled with their absence, there it is. "Hey, how have you been?" A harmless message on the surface, but inside it feels like an earthquake. Part of you wants to scream, "Finally!" Another part of you whispers, "Why now?" Imagine you're sitting in a house you rebuilt after a storm. You fixed the windows, repaired the roof, painted the walls. You learned to love the quiet again. One day there's a knock on the door. You open it and see the same storm standing on your porch, now holding flowers, saying, "I've changed." That's what it feels like when they reappear after months of silence. They're not just asking for a conversation. They're asking for access to a place you nearly lost yourself trying to rebuild. Your first instinct might be to think, "This is it. This is the moment I've been waiting for." All the fantasies you had during their silence come rushing back. The apology, the confession, the "I was stupid, I've always loved you, I wasn't ready then, but I am now." Your heart starts bargaining again. Maybe the silence meant they were working on themselves. Maybe this is proof the connection was real. Fear joins the conversation. What if I say no, and this was my only chance? What if I push them away and regret it forever? But here's the truth you need to remember. Their return doesn't erase the months they were gone. It doesn't erase the nights you cried, the days you blamed yourself, the questions you had to answer alone. Their message is not a magic eraser for your pain. It's a test of your growth. The old you would have jumped. The old you would have dropped everything to reply, to fix, to prove you were still there. The you that walked through all this silent hurt, that version deserves more than an "I was just thinking about you." Marcus Aurelius said, "If someone can show me that what I think or do is not right, I will happily change, for I seek the truth." Their return might come with nice words, but where is the truth? Did they take responsibility without you pulling it out of them? Did they acknowledge the silence, the hurt, the way they left things? Or did they just slide back in like nothing happened, expecting you to hand them the same soft access to your heart they once mishandled? That's how you know if this is growth, or just comfort-seeking. Picture this. Their ego tried to keep them away. It told them, "Don't text, it makes you look weak. Stay quiet, they'll reach out first." But your silence stayed stronger. You didn't chase, you didn't perform, you didn't break your own boundaries just to ease their discomfort. Over time, that creates a pressure on their side. They start wondering, why haven't they messaged me? Did they move on? Do I still have access to them? Their return is often less about deep transformation and more about checking if the door they walked out of is still unlocked. This is why Stoic calm matters. You don't have to be rude, you don't have to be vengeful, but you also don't have to hand them back the same version of you that tolerated confusion and called it connection. You can respond neutrally. You can take your time. You can decide that access to you now comes with standards. The real power is not in ignoring them just to feel strong, but in remembering you are not obligated to resume a story just because a familiar character shows up again. Ask yourself some honest questions before you hand them emotional front-row seats again. Did they grow, or did they just get lonely? Are they truly ready to communicate, or are they just bored with their distractions? Do they see your worth now, or do they just miss the way you made them feel about themselves? These questions are not meant to block love. They're meant to protect your peace. You didn't walk through all that silence just to come back to the same chaos. Here's the paradox. By the time they come back, the story has already shifted. You're not who you were when they left. You've cried, you've questioned, you've rebuilt. You started turning their absence into a mirror instead of a cage. You learned that your happiness cannot depend on who does or doesn't text you. Their return doesn't mean you've finally won. The real victory happened quietly. On the days you chose your sanity over stalking their page, your growth over your hope, your peace over your fantasies. In a way, their return is just the final reveal. It shows you whether you've truly healed or just been holding your breath. If their name pops up and your entire nervous system explodes, that's information. If their name pops up and you feel calm, curious, but not desperate, that's transformation. That's Stoicism in action. Not because you don't feel anything, but because your feelings no longer sit in the driver's seat with no license. You're allowed to listen. You're allowed to talk. You're allowed to evaluate. But you're also allowed to say, what you walked away from no longer exists. I've grown past the version of me that accepted this. Sometimes the most powerful thing you'll ever do is not take someone back. Not out of anger, but out of clarity. Other times, you might decide to give it a chance, but from a new place, with new boundaries, with new awareness. And if they haven't really changed, your new self will see it faster than your old self ever could. My friends, the rebirth is not when they finally text you. The rebirth is when you realize you don't need that text to know your worth. Their return is just a plot twist. The real story is you. The way you chose yourself when no one was clapping. The way you learned to sit with your pain instead of using their presence as a bandage. The way you decided, I am not a backup plan. I am not a halftime show. I am not a safety net for someone who only remembers me when their ego gets lonely. So if they do come back after months of silence, remember, this is not just their moment, it's yours. A moment to show yourself how far you've come. A moment to choose peace over old patterns. A moment to say, I don't chase what disappears, I honor what stays and what grows. If this whole journey, from silence to clarity to your own rebirth, has spoken to you, I want you to claim it right now. Go to the comments and write, I choose my new chapter. Show yourself, show your future self, show the world around you that you are done living in reruns of old stories. And if this video helped you breathe a little easier, helped you see yourself a little clearer, do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this with someone who's still stuck in the silence, waiting for a message that may never come. You never know. You might be the reason someone else finally chooses their peace too.